Hello to all my queens of Christmas out there, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be asking ourselves, how would I judge RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 4? Now, this is a season people tend to really like All-Stars 4, I feel. When people talk about their favorite All-Star seasons, I feel like, at least based off of like popular opinion online, it's definitely like, okay, All-Stars 2 and 6 are like the top. And then some people say All-Star 7 is one of their favorites, some people hate it, it's pretty divisive. But All-Stars 4 is usually up there in like the top 3 for people, I feel. That's not really the case for me. I'm not the biggest All-Stars 4 fan, to be entirely honest. If I were to rank the 8 All-Star seasons we have, All-Stars 4 is like 6th or 5th. I'm not the biggest fan of it, genuinely. And I do think my brain is tainted by the double winner situation and really the whole kind of scenario going on at the Final Four there, which we'll talk about later. But this is a season that I knew that I would judge decently differently than some of the other seasons that exist of Drag Race. So that's why I included it on the poll that I did a little while ago asking what seasons y'all like to see me do How Would I Judge video for, and y'all decided you wanted All Stars 4, so here we go. Let us get right on into it. The rules to remember, as always, are the season has to be as long as Season 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars originally was, which is 10 episodes. The season was 9 competitive episodes, and the finale, this scenario, I'm going to be making it 8 competitive episodes, a reunion, and a finale. I have done this before on different, seasons of Drag Race. Why can't I think of it at the top of my head? Oh, I did it for All Stars 8. I did it for All Stars 8. You'll see why I did this later. It really has to do with the flow of the season and just ways that I think it could have been structured better. And the performances and challenges need to be based off of how well someone did or how people would predict they would do. So I'm not just going to put somebody in the top when they were originally in the bottom, or vice versa, unless there is strong fan support for that being the case. The goal, as always, is to act as if I'm the head judge and craft the season however I can imagine to make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal tastes and what was shown to us on the show. Before we go any further though, please like, comment, and subscribe on this video if you enjoy yourself. Only about 25% of my viewers are currently subscribed, so if you were to subscribe to my channel, that would be amazing. It'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. Anyways, let us get back into the video, starting with episode 1. In episode 1, we had ourselves the talent show. Now, this episode was really good, I would say. I feel like we had good introductions to all the queens. The reading challenge was fun, and I think this is a very good talent show. I think everybody who did Safer or Higher did a solid job in the talent show. Only the bottom 3 had any real flaws with their performance, I would say. Originally, the top 2 of this episode were Trinity the Tuck and Mo Hart. And the high placement went to Naomi Smalls. And I did consider keeping the high placement for Naomi Smalls. I decided to give it to Latrice because I thought the challenge was just genuinely more impressive. Naomi did this kind of original song situation. It's giving fashion, which had some fun little tricks with it, and her taking off the wig at the end to reveal that like Albert Einstein hair was so clever and so genius. And I think I enjoyed that more, that singular moment, more than I enjoyed any singular moment of Latrice's performance. But Latrice had this flag twirling thing that she was doing that is genuinely so impressive. It is a talent. It technically is a variety show, but that is a talent, and we are at this talent show. So I was like, I gotta give a high placement to Latrice here. It just makes sense for me. And then I did take Trinity out of the top 2. I don't think Trinity did a bad job at all. It was just not as impressive as Gia's performance. Gia does a kabuki performance, which is super impressive, and is really like the highlight of the show in my opinion. So I decided to swap a Trinity and Gia here. And then I kept Mo in the top 2. Of the performances that exist in the original number you're doing a performance to, which was the Mo, Naomi, Valentina, Trinity, Monet, all 5 of them. and their performances fit into that category. Mo's was the best by far. So I felt it was only fair to at least have her in the top 3, and I enjoyed her performance more than Latrice's. She's going to be in the top 2 here. And before we go any further, if you watched my video on RuPaul's Drag Race UK versus the World, season 1, which happened, a while ago, back when that season happened, you would know that I adore Mohart. They are like top 5 of my favorite Drag Race queens, easy. Like it's truly like not even a question in my brain of that fact. I love Mo so much. And so I'm going to be fully transparent and say there is a chance that some of these placements might be influenced by my love of Mo, and I just haven't even noticed. I feel like all the placements I've given her in this judging of the season are completely fair, reasonable placements to give her. But again, I know that I adore Mo, so there might be something that I'm just not seeing or paying attention to, and if that is the case, then I'm sorry. Yeah, those are going to be the top 3. Manila, Naomi, Trinity, and Valentina are the safes. And the bottom 3 are exactly the same. Monet Exchange is going to keep the low placement, and Pheromone and Jasmine Masters are going to be the bottom 2. On the top 2 of Gia Gunn and Mohart are going to lip sync to Emotions by Mariah Carey. And Mo in this lip sync sadly loses her wig. I mean, it does basically the most iconic thing that it could have done when the wig flew off, and that is the wig it landed on like a beam up in the ceiling. Like that was pretty perfect. But obviously that wasn't the intent. It wasn't the intent to lose the wig. There wasn't roses under that wig. There wasn't another wig under the wig. There wasn't anything under the wig. So the fact that she did I would say a very average job to Emotions, but then lost the wig, I feel like Gia's doing better than immediately. I feel like Gia is doing an average job to Emotions as well. I feel like she's not going to murder it. I don't think she's going to do terrible. And considering the very low percentage chance of Gia losing her wig, I would assume that Gia would win here. And I said that she would choose Jasmine's lipstick. I mean, we do see this kind of like negative interaction with Gia calling out Farah in the first 2 episodes. So I was deeply considering, does she get rid of Farah instead? And I decided against it because Gia is a shady bitch, but she's smart as well. She knows that this little situation that she has going on with Farah, girl, that's screen time. If she can keep that going forward, I think she might just keep it going for the fuck of it. You know what I mean? Is there absolutely a chance she gets rid of Farah? Yeah. And maybe should it be changed? I don't know. But regardless of whether Farah or Jasmine goes here, I think the other one leaves the next episode anyway, so it doesn't ultimately matter that much. And we already have precedent for Jasmine going home here in this episode, and I feel like Gia, if the pulse of the room was that basically everyone wanted to get rid of Jasmine, and she has the situation with Farah going, I don't think she would choose to stray from that and go for Farah instead. So we're going to move on to episode 2 now. And in episode 2, we have the girl groups challenge of the season. We have Everybody Say Love and Don't Funk It Up. Both sung by Lizzo, which I did not, like, I knew when I'd seen the season the first time. I was like, oh, the song by Lizzo. Okay, interesting. But I completely forgot about it when I rewatched it. I was like, oh, wait, what? I was like taking it back. I was like, oh, okay. But this episode, is an amazing episode of Drag Race. You get to see Stacey Lane Matthews, which is it's wonderful. And looking at the placements this episode, I decided to keep the top placements exactly the same. The top 2 are Monet Exchange and Valentina. Valentina's verse truly lives in my head rent-free. It is one of the verses of all time on Drag Race that like, just truly just replays itself for me. It is everything. And Monet is the star of her group. She does the best job in her group by far. And then she has like the references to season 10 and like the phone prop. It's just really good. And the high placement's still gonna go to Naomi. She has a really solid verse, just lyrically. I think it's a really good verse for her. I also considered putting Latrice at the top here instead of Naomi, but I feel like just in terms of like the physical performance of it, Naomi did a better job. While I feel like just their like raw, like the vocal performance and the lyrics of it combined are like similar levels of quality. So that edged Naomi out for me as the high, just slightly more than it did for Latrice. But in the bottoms here, originally the bottom two were Mohart and Pheromone, which I disagree with. Mo did have the little faux pas with her jacket there. But in terms of pure singing ability, hers was like top 3 worthy. Like, in terms of the performance, it was definitely bottom 3 worthy. I would say probably the second worst. But if you're looking at, like, just the pure, again, like, the vocals of it and the lyrics of it, it's one of the best in my opinion. That's really good. She just didn't perform it that well. Sadly, Pheromone didn't really do either of the facets, I feel like, particularly well in the challenge. And then Gia Gunn, I feel, just didn't do a good job really at all in this challenge personally. Her lyrics and like the way that she does it, it doesn't have like any musicality to it. It's not singing, it's not rapping, it's just talking. And it's not like captivating talking. And I feel like performance-wise, I feel like everybody else on her team does a better job than her. So I feel like Gia and Farah do the worst on their teams, so they should be in the bottom 2. Similar to how Valentina and Monet are the best on their teams and they're in the top 2. Originally, Manila was low for this episode. I decided to move her up to the safe. One, because her runway is like the best runway of the night and also is actually one of the best runways in Drag Race history, I feel. And also, I feel like while her performance is subdued, it's not terrible. I feel like the flow of her verse is good. I feel like her lyrics are fine. I feel like she performs it probably the second worst out of her group. I feel like with the exclusion of the runway, she's like 5th or 6th in every other aspect of this challenge, if you're ranking them all. Ranking, the lyrics and the performance and all of that. So, in my opinion, there's no reason to rank her below safe. I don't have a reason to do so. So the top 2 of Valentina and Monet Exchange are going to lip sync to Into You by Ariana Grande, and Valentina won this lip sync. She absolutely won the lip sync. It is so good. It's such a good lip sync performance. Ugh. And she originally did choose Pheromone, and with Gia there, I do think it is potentially tempting to choose Gia, but I mean, Valentina, she knows how TV works. She's gonna choose Farah. She's gonna close off this storyline here, I feel. That's just the vibe I get from her. I don't really see why she would change her mind, specifically if Gia was here. Unless Gia did like something, like actively terrible to her, like in this timeline, I don't see why she would have the incentive to choose Gia. So she's not going to. Farah is going to go home and we're going to move on to episode 3. In episode 3, we have ourselves the Snatch Game. Now, ideally, this would not be a Snatch Game of Love. I do not like the Snatch Game of Love concept. It's, how do I put this? Hot garbage. It just limits what the Snatch Game can do because on an all-star season with top 2s, it kind of makes it so that when they're split into 2 groups to play the Snatch Game of Love, whoever wins from their groups, like in the actual Snatch Game of Love, is the winners of the challenge. And that's like not fair because Naomi did better than Manila. Like, I don't feel like that's controversial. A lot of people feel like Naomi did a great job in the Snatch Game, and Manila didn't do a bad job at all. She just did worse than Naomi. But since Naomi was grouped with Trinity, Manila and Trinity just inherently come across as like the 2. But Naomi compared to Manila, did better. So we're gonna move Naomi from the high placement up to the top 2 and Manila back down to the high. Mo and Monet were originally safe in this challenge and they're gonna keep those placements. And the bottom 3 has been shuffled a bit. Originally the bottom 2 is Valentina and Gia, where Latrice was low. I decided to move Latrice to the bottom 2 here because, well, it's so unfortunate that Latrice is put into a situation again on a Snatch Game where somebody is just making jokes that fuck with her the whole time. And I feel like, sadly, even with the neutral, standard Snatch Game format, that wouldn't really change. It just means that more people are there. Like, that's kind of, I don't think it changes much, if anything, with that situation happening there. And sadly, I feel like Gia's performance does kind of make Latrice's bottom 2 happen. Because Valentina, well, she definitely has a good couple of jokes in there. I mean, all the stuff relating to Emperor's New Groove, I feel like is solid. Like, I feel like if we're just looking at a Snatch Game where, like, let's just say that Farrah's here instead of Gia, I feel like Farrah's probably bottom 2, and then Valentina is a more deserving bottom 2 than Latrice, because Latrice actually is, like, a better opportunity and isn't in her head because of the actions of Gia, So I do think Valentina does move up into low placement, but not because I feel like in a controlled environment she would have done better than Latrice, but because of the environment that we got, Latrice would end up, I feel like, having less jokes and everything. So Latrice and Gia are the bottom 2 here. The top 2 of Naomi and Trinity are going to be lip syncing to How Will I Know by Whitney Houston, which, I mean, amazing song. I'm very happy to see it. And this was a hard one for me to call specifically on who would win. I feel like there's merit to saying either of them would win. Trinity did a perfectly fine job in her lip sync originally. And she did lose to Manila, but again, I don't feel like she did like a bad job. Naomi, I feel like could also win the lip sync. I really do. It was just like a hard decision for me because I'm like, okay, How Will I Know? I feel like it's a song that fits pretty evenly into both of their wheelhouses. I kind of ultimately gave it to Trinity because we've seen her perform more songs similar to like How Will I Know on Drag Race than we've seen Naomi do. Like Naomi, um, uh, we on Drag Race has lip synced to Causing a Commotion, Adrenaline, and Come Rain or Come Shine, which she won all of them, but none of them are similar to How Will I Know. Trinity performed to Emotions in the actual season, like 2 episodes prior to this, which is a decently similar song in terms of style to How Will I Know. And I just see it more for Trinity than I do for Naomi. I just do. That's how I feel in my gut. I really don't have like a specific reason other than that. And I feel like either of them are choosing Gia at this point. That doesn't, I don't feel like that's like a controversial opinion. That just purely makes sense to me based off of the way that Gia, had been acting in the real season and how I imagine she would be perceived in this scenario. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be Gia. So it's gotta be Gia. So she is going to go home here, and we're going to move on to episode 4. This episode, we have the Jersey Justice Challenge, and I really don't have much to say about this challenge, except that I love it, and we need more challenges like this. We've only had it twice. We had this challenge, and then we had the Fairy Tale Justice one and All Star 7. Which means that, wait, yeah, so Monet and Trinity have competed in this basically exact same challenge twice. That's only ever been done twice. Very interesting. They should do it again with a different theme. I think it'd be interesting. Um, but the only changes in the placements are between the high and the safe placement. Originally, Valentina was high and Naomi was safe. I decided to move Naomi up to the high. I just preferred Naomi's performance. It was more entertaining to me. I feel like that also is partially influenced by the clarity of just the skit as a whole. Valentina's role in the skit as like the original Snooki, that's like not the intended Snooki, you know? I like understand, like on paper, like I'm like, okay, I understand what they're doing. But the way that it's presented, I feel like is just a bit too convoluted of a premise to begin with in a way, where it kind of dampens Valentina's character a little bit for me because I'm just spending time trying to understand exactly what her character is, which isn't her fault, I don't think. But Naomi's character I understood immediately, and I feel like just that immediate response of like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm gonna laugh at all this funny stuff now, versus me spending a bit longer at Valentina's character being like, wait, what? Oh, okay. And then like getting into it, like it bumps Naomi for me up as the high placement over Valentina. But besides that, every other placement is the exact same. Mo and Manila murdered this challenge. They do so good. Trinity sadly doesn't do super particularly well, but she does do better than Monet and Latrice. The top two of Mo and Manila are going to lip sync to The Bitches Back by Tina Turner, and Mo kills this. This lip sync was built for Mo Hart to win, I feel, for sure. And I mean, she's good with Monet. They're sisters from season 10. So I feel like it really only makes sense that in this scenario, Mo would also get rid of Latrice as they did originally. So Latrice is going to go here, and we're going to move on to episode 5. In episode 5, we had ourselves the roast challenge, and this challenge also only has one difference in placements. That being, I decided to move Mo Hart up into a high placement instead of the bottoms. In this challenge, the contestants had to roast Lady Bunny, who I do really like in the season that they spent a lot of time honoring like older, like queer icons. That's actually so shady to just fucking say about fucking Lady Bunny. That's like, I honestly didn't mean it like that. I really meant it respectfully, but it sounded shady as shit. I meant because, like, in the Makeover episode, there's like a little mini tribute to Judy Garland, and also Stacey Lane is there. Like, I didn't mean it like that. But yeah. This roast, I mean, it's very clear that 3 people do well and 3 people don't do well. And while I do agree that Monet and Manila do better than Mo here, I feel like Mo does leagues better than the bottom 3. Like, I mean, if we're looking at, like, if we're ranking it out of 10, I feel like looking at, like, Monet and Manila's roasts, they're both, like, 9s. They're both, like, 8.5 or 9s. They're, like, solid, good roasts. Really, like, the only complaint is I wish to, maybe the jokes punch a bit harder, or, like, you know, there's a bit more jokes, you know? Like, I like a 9 of, like, there's always room for improvement, you know? And I feel like Moe's is like a 6.5, 7. Like, the concept is good. There are only a handful of jokes, but they all at least get a chuckle, you know? None of them fall flat. They're all at least okay. And I feel like Naomi's, Trinity's, and Valentina's all range from like a 1, 2, or 3. Like, they are just not there in terms of the jokes at all. So the fact that this was a bottom 4 this episode really confused me. It really feels like they only put Mo in the bottom 4 here for storyline purposes of what's going to happen next episode, which I don't feel like is fair. Like she did good. Why are you putting her in the bottom? You're giving her a fucking bottom for no reason. I don't like it. But the top 2 of Manila and Monet are going to be lip syncing to Jump to It by Aretha Franklin. And for storyline purposes, I guess they're both going to win this lip sync. I actually don't know who I would choose to win this lip sync. I guess I would say Monet probably, but like it's like a 55-45, you know? She owns 51% of that lip sync and Manila owns the other 49%, you know? Like I don't think giving them a double win is necessarily like as much a bribery, I feel like, as the giving them the bottom 4 was. But we're going to move on to episode 6, where we originally had our lip sync Lollapalooza, which we are not having in this scenario. In the original lip sync Lollapalooza, the eliminated 4 contestants got to verse off against the bottom 4 contestants from episode 5 in lip syncs, and the winner either stayed or entered the competition. And I don't like this twist because, well, the producers would never let it happen. It opens up a can of worms that I don't like, and that can of worms is, what if all the eliminated queens win their lip syncs? And then they're just all back in the competition. Like imagine the final 6 was Manila, Monet, Farrah, Jasmine, Latrice, and Gia. Like, that is not a timeline I want to live in personally. It's just not. And so I feel like the implications that could happen is just ridiculous. And due to that fact, I decided to change up the way that this would be formatted. Essentially, what's going to happen is that the 4 previously eliminated contestants are going to be participating in a mini lip sync smackdown situation. Farrah, Jasmine, Latrice, and Gia, they're going to be participating in that. 2 of them go against each other in the first round, and then another 2. The winners of those lip syncs go against each other. And then that winner, though, out of the 4, who does the best, is going to lip sync against who Manila and Monet chose to be eliminated. And whoever wins that lip sync gets to stay in the competition. The other person is eliminated. I feel like this is a better scenario because, first off, why did they make them choose lipsticks in the original scenario that this happened in? If Valentina wasn't even going to go home due to that anyway, like, why did they even do it? Like, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like this should have had repercussions. Valentina would have been eliminated if there were a standard episode. So now she is going to face the threat of elimination. She just has the chance to save herself through a lip sync. And if she doesn't, then she gets eliminated and somebody gets back in, and it's a net neutral episode. Nobody goes home again. The way that this scenario would happen is that with these 4, I feel like the fairest thing, and by these 4 I mean Farrah, Jasmine, Gia, and Latrice, I feel like the fairest thing is that the most previously eliminated person, that would be Latrice, gets to choose who she wants to go against in round 1. I think she chooses Farrah. I think she beats Farrah in every single RuPaul song that's there, so she's going to move on. Then Gia and Jasmine have to lip sync against each other, and I think Gia most likely wins against Jasmine in any of the songs. So she's going to move on, and she's going to face off against Latrice. In the 3rd round, I think Latrice has a better shot just generally than Gia. I really do. I feel like Gia would probably win Adrenaline if that was the song. I feel like she would genuinely win that. But Sissy That Walk, I think she wins. I think she wins Peanut Butter, and I think she wins Kitty Girl. So odds are Latrice is going to win. So then Latrice gets to go against Valentina in whatever the 4th RuPaul song, the one that hasn't been done yet, whatever one that ends up being. I feel like, again, Latrice is a better shot here than Valentina. I feel like Valentina wins. I mean, she did really well in Kitty Girl. I think she wins Kitty Girl. I could envision a scenario where she does better than Latrice in Adrenaline, but I know for a fact that Latrice is doing better in Sissy That Walk and Peanut Butter, and I do feel like there's still a really good chance she does better than Valentina in Adrenaline. So just odds-based, I think Latrice is re-entering the competition and Valentina's getting eliminated. So that is the way that this episode 6 is going to go, and we're going to move on to episode 7. Very interesting elimination here with Valentina. Going home an episode before she should have in a very, very different scenario. Now, episode 7 has to run a little bit differently due to the fact that Valentina is not here. This episode, they had to design clubs, and they had to do this in groups. And originally, there were 7 people, so it was 2 groups of 2 and a group of 3. But since we have one less contestant than we did originally here in this episode, it's just going to be 3 groups of 2. Now, they got to choose their groups originally, and they knew ahead of time that it was 1 group of 3 and 2 groups of 2, so Latrice and Manila immediately are like, hey, Trinity, join our group, and Trinity's like, yeah, sure. And then Mo and Monet are like, "Hey, we're friends! Yay, let's join together." And then Naomi and Valentina are like, "Oh, okay, sure. We'll just be grouped together." But considering that it's a duo situation this time, I imagine the scenario that happens is Latrice and Manila are still like, "Yay, pair!" and Monet and Mo are like, "Yay, pair!" And then Trinity and Naomi are like, "Oh, okay, we're a pair, I guess." That's what makes sense to me. That's just that's what I see happening here. Now, my question really is, how do the groups fare? Because Monet and Mo, they're the only group that's exactly the same, and they did a perfectly fine job in this challenge. I feel like the concept made sense, was clever, had some fun moments towards it, but could have been a bit more fleshed out, and like could have had some more funnier moments just like as like an inherent part of it. But they didn't do bad by any means. Now, the winning theme that Trinity, Latrice, and Manila's group has originally, the B theme, that theme does come from Trinity. So it's like, okay, we know that Latrice and Manila probably aren't doing a B theme if that's not the case, and there's a chance that Trinity and Naomi do. But if we're just like looking at the setup of the challenge and the way that it's like intended to be performed, I feel like the question kind of is, if Trinity still wants to do the B theme and ends up getting her way with it, like, does that mean that Trinity and Naomi would end up doing a better job than Mo and Monet, or also Latrice and Manila? Like, Latrice and Manila in the scenario is the only group that we have no clue what the fuck they're gonna do, really. But considering the performances in the challenge proper and the general history, the work history of these pairs, I would expect that Latrice and Manila, whatever they would do in the scenario, are probably going to be lockstep with each other, and they're going to support each other and help each other, and ultimately create a cohesive, coherent, funny product at the end of the day. Whereas we really haven't seen Trinity and Naomi work together before in this scenario. And so I'm afraid that due to the lack of connection between the two, that we would end up in a scenario where they just simply don't do as good as Latrice and Manila or Mo and Monet. So I do think odds are Trinity and Naomi would be in the bottom two here, which is very interesting because originally Trinity was in the top two for this challenge. But I didn't move her down there because I think she would do bad. I moved her down there because statistically that seems like the most likely thing in this scenario. So the top two of Latrice and Manila are going to lip sync to You Spin Me Right Round by Dead or Alive. And I think Latrice would do better. Honestly, this is not really a good lip sync song, IMO. It's just not. It's just not that great of a lip sync song. But I mean, it's been shown on this season that Latrice is just generally a better lip syncer than Manila. And with this kind of like a hard song to perform to here in like a meaningful way, I feel like Latrice would do better. So she's gonna win this lip sync. And we do see in this episode actually, when Latrice is debating in the original episode between Naomi and Valentina who should go home, she mentions multiple times that she doesn't really have a connection with Naomi that well. And the reason that she ends up getting rid of Valentina over Naomi is due to Valentina's, French vanilla fantasy, or like kind of inability to kind of escape, her own wonderland and be considerate of others, And without that situation happening, I feel like Latrice is probably closer to Trinity, and she would want to see Trinity in the competition more, so she's going to get rid of Naomi. That's what I think would happen here, which is sad, because Naomi did a great job on the original season, and it would have been nice to see her get to the finale here. But, I mean, she did get a challenge win. She won the Snatch Game. There's nothing to scoff at by any means. But sadly, I do think Naomi is going to go here. We're going to move on to episode 8. In episode 8, we have the Makeover Challenge. Now, all 5 of these contestants participated in it originally, so there are no unknowns here. But Naomi was here originally, and she is not here anymore. So we have to figure out who out of Trinity and Mo we are moving up into a top 2 placement. And I decided that it should be Trinity. I feel like the outfits were cleaner, crisper. Were they a bit less, I would say, on the family resemblance term of things, which I'm saying in air quotes, family resemblance? I would say yes, they're a bit worse than Mo's looks. But I mean, I don't really feel like that matters that much. I just feel like the outfits are just like nicer than Mo's, and that's pretty much it. So she's going to move into that top 2, and Mo is going to stay safe, and the bottom 2 again is going to be Latrice and Manila. So the top 2 of Trinity and Monet are going to lip sync to Come Rain or Come Shine by Judy Garland. And I mean, Monet does a whole lot of nothing in this lip sync. I mean, she does do a couple things. That's kind of just me being hyperbolic. She does have the umbrella with the glitter falling down out of it. But besides that, it's really just a lot of like standing slow motions and big mouth, big mouth expression, which I feel like can be good for a good amount of lip syncs, but in comparison to what Naomi did, it was just simply not enough. And I feel like Trinity is somebody who will go balls to the wall. Like Trinity doesn't show restraint in her lip syncing style on Drag Race. I can't think of a lip sync on Drag Race where Trinity was like restraining herself. You know what I mean? I feel like she is the type to go for it, and I feel like with Come Rain or Come Shine in this scenario, the better thing to do is to just go for it. So I think that Trinity would probably do better here over Monet, and she would, win the lip sync and get to choose the lipstick. Now, who would Trinity choose is a slightly hard question to answer, but I do think she would probably choose Manila. Trinity knows that Manila will win the season if she gets to the very end. I think she knows that. She's not dumb. And I feel like she has some incentive to keep Latrice because Latrice just kept her. Might it have been a hard move for Trinity to say, yeah, I'm going to get rid of Manila here? Maybe. But I feel like it's ultimately the move that she would have ended up choosing. It just is the move that makes the most sense for her, and I know she's not stupid, so I feel like she's got to do this move, So Manila sadly is gonna leave here, not making the finale again in this scenario. Poor Manila. But I really do think this is the way that this would end up happening. Episode 9 was originally the Final 5 challenge, the Sex and the Kitty Girl challenge, but we just got down to 4 contestants, and this is going to be a Final 4 for this season. So, considering the fact that there's one competitive episode that did exist that now doesn't, we have to replace that with something, and that's going to be a reunion, because I feel like every season should have a reunion if given the chance. I feel like a reunion is really only a good thing. It can provide so much drama, so much insight, so much love, so much everything, and I really like seeing it happen personally. The best thing about the reunion being here on this season is we don't have to talk about the dreaded Sex and the Kitty Girl challenge. That terrible fucking acting challenge just doesn't exist in this timeline. And I feel like if you disagree with literally every change I made in the placements in this video, if that is what your feelings, you gotta admit, the fact that we don't have Sex and the Kitty Girl here is pretty fucking nice, I must say. Anyway, let's move on to the finale. Now, in this Final 4, the 2 best track records belong to Mo and Monet. So, based off of those, merits, it would just make sense for them to be the top 2. But looking at the performances of the finale, we have the Super Queen acoustic jam sesh, I guess you could call it. Is the finale number. And looking at the performances originally, I feel like, well, personally, Mo is my favorite. I love her verse a lot. I feel like she sings it super well. I also love her look. I don't know, there's something fun about that orangey red hair and the black, flowy dress. I just really like it. Mo is my favorite. Monet is my second favorite. Trinity is my third, and Naomi was my fourth, just looking at the original scenario. And looking, at Latrice, I feel like Latrice could really slot in basically anywhere in this scenario. I feel like she could do the best. I feel like she could do the worst. I feel like she could do the middle. Latrice has multitudes. She could be in a lot of placements here. But regardless, I feel confident in the fact that, well, one, Mo and Monet do the best track records here. And two, in the performances in the finale, I feel like at worst they are second and third. Trinity has the third best track record, and I feel like would do third or fourth worst in this finale. Latrice has the worst track record, having been eliminated so far in the season, and I feel like even a first place finish in this finale, wouldn't be miles ahead of Mo and Monet, and I still don't think would redeem that and her ability to end up in a final two scenario. I feel like it's the fairest thing to have Mo and Monet as the top two of the season. And looking at the track records, Mo's done better. She's never been in the bottom two. Monet has. Monet has an extra win over Mo. But despite that, looking at the track records, it still isn't enough to overtake her in terms of points. So I feel like in terms of representing the season, having a better track record, the redemption arc of Mo here, being 8th place originally on her season, not winning any challenges, not really being able to show her true full self due to her lack of budget for her costumes, being able to come back and do all of that, win a couple of challenges, do the best in the finale. I feel like Mo deserves this win so hard in the scenario. And in the original scenario, she should have won. Oh my goodness, she could have won. And it's so disappointing. But this is the way that I see this happening, and this is the way that I feel about it. Also, I think that full through line of the season 10 sisters making it to the final two together is just a chef's kiss on top. Like, oh yeah, one of these girls is winning the season. Let's see who it is. It's just nice. It's just good. I don't have any complaints about that. Here are the track records for this season. Now, that episode 6 is a weird one to try and, add to the track records. Essentially, the way that it counts is that it counts for nobody except for Valentina. If in your head you just want to scratch out that every placement under round 6 except for the elim one exists, and then scooch over that round 7 and make it look like, 2 people got eliminated. Essentially what I did is that, and this is the way that all these placements and the PPE scores work, is that you're taking the points allotted to each placement, 5 for a win, 4.5 for a top 2, 4 for a high, 3 for a safe, 2 for a low, 1 for a bottom, and 0 for an elimination. And then you're adding up all those numbers, dividing it by the amount of episodes a contestant is in to get their PPE score. Valentina's is divided by 6 because she competed 5 actual episodes and then was eliminated on her 6th episode technically. Naomi Smalls also was divided by 6. She competed in 6 actual episodes and was eliminated on her 6th actual episode competing. It's a weird way to do it in this scenario, but there's really no better way to do it. And this is the exact way I did it with the lip sync SmackDowns that happened in seasons 14 and 15 of RuPaul's Drag Race. I did the exact same way. For everybody but the eliminated person, that episode just did not count for their total at all. That's the way that I did it. And this does leave Mo with the best track record at 3.5. Very even numbers happening here. And then Monet Exchange a little bit low at 3.28. Trinity with 2.86 and Latrice at 2.33. Second best track record of the season going to Manila with 3.43, despite being eliminated from the season. Very crazy, honestly. But yeah, that is going to be the video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you wish. Leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down below. As always, I will leave my Twitter handle linked down below if you want to go follow me on there. And again, thank you all so much for watching. As always, take care. Bye-bye.